Sometimes it's good to live in Fantasyland, right? Sometimes it's good to exercise that imagination. And for me, as a Vancouver Canucks fan, I wanted to go out there and talk about some of these ideas. Just toss them out there, see what y'all think, because scrolling through each of the 32 hockey subreddits yesterday, I stumbled upon this post made by Dr. Zoidberger89 on the Canucks sub. As of right now, it's one of the highest voted posts on the Canucks sub in the past week. It's garnered a lot of discussion, and it's a very good post. Of course, it's the Canucks sub, so they're talking about the Canucks. Here are some random players that the Vancouver Canucks could target in the offseason to fix the top 6. This is a great post, and the link is going to be in the description to this Reddit thread. Also linked in the description is our ExpressVPN affiliate page. Go out there, check out that first link in the description to save some money on your VPN, get some free months, and support this YouTube channel in the process. Dr. Zoidberger's post, though, is also going to be there. He starts out this entire thing by saying this: "It's no secret that the Vancouver Canucks top 6 is not where it should be. Miller and Horvat, both 1Cs, are gone. The Canucks rank near the bottom in shots per game, and everyone else is underperforming. As of right now, Jake DeBrusk is the best winger. I love DeBrusk, but if he is your best winger, you have some serious problems. So here are some random long shots the Canucks could target in the offseason this year, assuming Besser walks. All players are between the ages of 20 to 27 to fit the Canucks core age group. The Vancouver Canucks did not embrace the retool like Boston did, so it makes acquiring a needle mover even harder due to a lack of assets. But I'm hopeful the Canucks could right the ship in the offseason." Well-written, succinct, easy-to-understand idea. This is a list of a whole bunch of forwards that the Vancouver Canucks could target. And I'll say right off the bat here, I don't want to talk about every single one. I just wanted to talk about maybe 3 or 4. There are 10 total, so this is a really well-written post. Each of these players have a really interesting write-up about them, and what also stands out to me is that there are 2 St. Louis Blues guys on here. Jordan Kyrou, who of course is a St. Louis Blue right now, and Dalibor Dvorsky, who was drafted by St. Louis and is chilling in their farm system over there in Springfield. But aside from the 2 St. Louis Blues guys, I wanted to talk about 3 of these remaining 8 names. And I'll say this right off the bat, one of the names that I don't want to talk about is the guy who is listed on this post as number 9, Marco Kasper. No, the Detroit Red Wings are not trading away Marco Kasper. Heck, we can make another video about that if you want, but I wanted to dive into these 3 guys because these guys each have a realistic chance of potentially getting moved. Let's talk about the guy who's listed at number 6, Quinton Byfield, center, age 22, signed on to $6.25 million of an AAV deal until 2029. LA has apparently been considering moving either Clark or Byfield in a package to retool. I don't put a lot of stock in those rumors, as Byfield is not only signed cheap for a while, but is a young second overall pick that has shown a ton of potential despite his kinda underwhelming stats. The Kings have zero reason to move him, but Rob Clark is a hockey terrorist, so you never know. Number 7 listed over here is Trevor Zegras, 23, signed on to $5.75 million per season until 2027. Not the most desired player by most hockey fans, but he could be a good acquisition. The Ducks' coaching is brutal, and Zegras has defensively developed in spite of that as of late. Offensively, he has been very disappointing, and trade rumors have naturally circulated. He makes reasonable money, but would be a gamble in terms of what Anaheim would want, and in terms on if he bounces back. He seems like a good guy off the ice, and I think feelings he has a bad attitude are overblown. Now number 8 is none other than Mitch Marner. 27 years old, possible UFA. If he walks, and if he considers signing with the Canucks, he will likely eat the cap space that the Canucks have left after signing Willander and Ratu. I personally think he stays in Toronto, but stranger things have happened. So, let's dive into each of these 3 dudes, starting out with Quinton Byfield, QB55. Byfield's a really interesting name because if you were to ask anybody who was following him in that 2020 season what they thought Byfield was going to be by 2025, I think most of us would have thought that Byfield would have been a definitive maybe 70-ish point caliber guy at this stage of his career. Now, he had 55 points last year. This year, he's on pace for 50. A little bit of a decline, but he is still the big behemoth of a skilled guy that he is. and I think there's so much untapped potential out of him, especially at only 22 years old. The problem is, he's a 22-year-old unicorn with soft hands, gifted feet, and a big frame who, for the longest time, was labeled with that franchise ceiling. Who knows what kind of value that guy's going to demand in any sort of trade talk. Unless the LA Kings are selling a little bit low on Quinton Byfield, they think that this guy is not it, and they're willing to trade him at a discount. I don't really see any reason for the Vancouver Canucks to think about acquiring Quinton Byfield. If the price is cheap, then okay, but what are the odds the price is cheap? I guess maybe you could debate that because the LA Kings have already been rumored to have been wanting to shop Byfield out anyway, that kind of opens the door to a discounted trade. But who knows? I mean, the guy's making $6.25, so it's not necessarily cheap, but if he does eventually become a 70, 80, 90, 100 point guy, then that's going to be a fantastic contract. Now, I know it's unrealistic to throw out labels as to whether or not guys could be 100 point guys, but Byfield's 22 years old. Anything can happen. Let's go over onto the second guy that I wanted to dive into, Trevor Zegras, written about here as a potential acquisition. I don't know if Trevor Zegras and his profile would fit in Vancouver, since it already doesn't fit in Anaheim. We have seen the way Pat Verbeek likes to run his teams. We have seen the guys that he places emphasis on. The Isaac Lindstroms, the Beckett Senneckes, the Mason McTavishes, the Leo Carlsons, the Cutter Gauchers, tough guys who are immovable. Trevor Zegras isn't really that. He's a skilled-up kind of player that has definitely developed a reputation over the years for being maybe the poster child of the new generation of hockey skills and development. I don't think that's the kind of guy that would work well in a Rick Tocchet system. Just saying. I know that Zegras' defensive game is better than, let's say, Andrei Kuzmenko's. You could debate it's better than Nils Höglander's, and these guys have had problems sticking around in Rick Tocchet's system, but I just don't know if a Rick Tocchet-styled coached hockey team is going to be what allows Zegras to excel. I don't think that they fit. I think if you wanted to see Zegras in Vancouver, he would have excelled a lot more under a coach like Bruce Boudreau, who's a little bit more forgiving on defensive mistakes and who's a little bit more carefree, and he likes his guys to do creative and exciting things, and you know, it's a different style of coaching. Bruce Boudreau allowed Kuzmenko and Pettersson to flourish together. I think if Trevor Zegras was with that system, he would have excelled too. Rick Tocchet dump and chase hockey, though, I don't really know if that fits. So I'm kind of ruling out Trevor Zegras, even though there already is a pretty good connection between Zegras and Quinn Hughes. All those NTDP American guys are super tight buddy-buddy. Quinn Hughes, Cole Caulfield, Jack Hughes, Turcotte, Boldy. There's a really good level of camaraderie there that extends beyond the years. So Trevor Zegras, even though he would be a pretty good ad for the morale of Quinn Hughes, I don't know if he's necessarily a guy that makes Vancouver all the more better. And then the last name talked about here, Mitch Marner. Yeah, okay, Marner is a big one because he's a guy that is going to get a lot of money. We've been hearing the price tag is in that $14 million AAV range, and when he goes to the market, he could probably get a bidding war for a little bit more than that, etc., etc. I guess you could say the Vancouver Canucks have accrued a sizable amount of cap space. We had seen them work the cap around this season with their up and down transactions. It didn't really pay off, though, because they didn't get anybody at the trade deadline. But ultimately, if Marner wants to come to another Canadian hockey craze market, which honestly I have no idea why he'd want to do that, if Vancouver is an option and he wants to come here, you bite the bullet. You get Marner. He's like Quinn Hughes, but a forward. Imagine having Quinn Hughes on forward and Quinn Hughes on defense. Like, we've made that comparison before. The Marner-Quinn Hughes comparison is more direct and seamless than you would anticipate upon first glance, but both of these guys, they rove with the puck and they hold on to it. Actually, thinking about it now, would Marner and Hughes be good together? Because if they're both playing the same style, would they not step on each other's toes? Would one guy maybe try to possess the puck a little more than the other, or would they sacrifice their own offensive opportunities to make sure the other guy gets his fair share at the shot too? I don't know. It's a really interesting dynamic, but ultimately it's going to be so expensive that you do have to consider other options here. Quinton Byfield at like less than half the cost is probably going to be valuable still. But then again though, Marner. I don't know. You can let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about each of these ideas. These three guys here. You can talk about all the other guys too. The article, or not the article, the Reddit post is going to be in the description for your reading pleasure. But for now, let me know your thoughts in the comments. How do you feel about the idea of Zegras, Byfield, or Marner heading over to the Vancouver Canucks? I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.